Hold on. Hey guys, welcome to my new YouTube channel. I'm doing a channel just for Royals fans about the Royals, Kansas City Royals, and I just I've been kind of fed up with the lack of Royals coverage. I probably should have done this a long time ago, but there's a lot of there's basically the Lockdown Royals guys, which is who I normally follow, but I just that Chance Lebo guy, he just I got an issue with Matt Quintrero, the decisions that he makes. I feel like a lot of times he makes really dumb decisions, and because he was given a contract extension, I'm supposed to just let all that stuff go and be like, yeah, he's a good manager. So the purpose of this channel is to give Royals fans a way to vent without, good or bad. Without, I'm not attached to the Royals. I don't go to games. I try if I can. I went to one this year, but uh, I don't have any affiliation with them in the sense of I don't know anybody there. I'm not afraid to criticize anybody that I feel like is warranted it. So, yeah, that the purpose of this, like I said, is just for people to be able to vent freely and not be called an idiot, as Chance Lebo called me for voicing my frustration with Matt Contreras. So the Royals, I'm recording this Wednesday morning, but last night we just lost to the Red Sox 6-2, and the problem was like we're starting Ryan Bergert, which he looked great. I mean, he gave up one run, but he was looking really good. And then I believe it was in the fifth inning, he had one guy on first that he walked or allowed a single. It might have been either one. And then McIntyre was like, "Hey, you're at 80 pitches. Sorry, got to take you out." I just think that's a stupid decision, and here's why. Like your bullpen hasn't been the lockdown bullpen of I would say like closer to last year once we got Lucas Urseg and we kind of had Bubich back there. Sam Long was pitching a lot better. That bullpen, I'm like, yeah, you can trust that. But in this case, John Schreiber, who I really like, is not stone cold locked to just shut everybody out. He can sometimes, but I wouldn't take out a starter because this is what I heard on the broadcast. They said that Ryan Berger, he's a rookie. This is his first time really up in the big leagues. He's never pitched this far. I'm like, well, if he's dealing, why would you take him out? Like, show him that you have confidence in him and be like, hey, we trust you, and as long as you're healthy. To me, a pitcher should, I'm not gonna say they should always pull themselves, but like if he's up to like 100 pitches, or if he's past 80 and his command is just like gone, sure, you want to take him out, but his command wasn't gone at all. He was still looking great. He just allowed one guy at first, and I would have had another arm ready to go in case he allowed another run. But this is my whole thing is unless a pitcher's gotten to like close to 100 pitches, I would let him go unless he allowed, I would say, multiple runs, whether that's spread across multiple innings or just in one inning. Because this is not the Royals team that this isn't a Royals team that has like a power offense that can like outscore someone 9-8 or something like that. Like we definitely need great pitching to survive because our offense is so stagnant a lot of times. So that's why you can't afford to just leave a guy in when he's not on his stuff, and vice versa. That's why you can't afford to take a guy out early, starting pitcher, if he is dealing, because then it's like, okay, you're just increasing your chances of another guy that's not quite on point. In this case, it was Angel Zerpa who came in, which I'm hot and cold. I think most Royals fans we're hot and cold on Zerpa. I don't dislike him enough to like get rid of him. Like, I mean, unless a good trade was offered, but like, I'm not asking for him to be sent down to AAA. I think he's one of the, I don't know, the one of the best 10 guys that could be in our bullpen. But at the same time, I mean, he's not who I would have put in that spot because that was still a close game. I believe the score was 3-2 at that point. I might be no. It was 1-1. My bad. It was 1-1, and then we take him out of the game. I just disagree with that decision. And like I said, I don't like being called an idiot when I've been watching the Royals since 1997. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had seasons where I kind of just took it off because we were going to be so bad. But I'm definitely not some just newbie baseball fan that doesn't know what I'm talking about. When I say things like fire Matt Quintero, it's not just a hey, we blew one game. Like I got the Royals, the Bally Sports package, which was last year. Now it's FanDuel. I've been watching Royals games nonstop, especially these last 2 years. And last year I was from opening day, so I don't want to get called a bandwagon. I didn't know we were going to be that good. I just was like, you know what? I want to watch the Royals this year, like every game. So what I've noticed in Matt Contreras' tenure is that he likes to pull pitchers early when they're still dealing, and vice versa. He'll keep a guy in when he's having trouble just because he's like, well, we need a guy to to just keep going and milk innings. And I'm like, this is it. he manages as if like this is all AAA or lower league baseball where like it doesn't matter, like wins or losses don't matter. It's like, well, they absolutely matter. Another thing that Matt Contreras does that pisses me off is he will start pulling guys for situational, like, substitutions. He'll start doing that in like the seventh inning in like a tie game. The other day, granted, Tyler Tolbert ended up actually doing well, but he pulled Vinny Pasquantino. He'd got a knock. I think he drove somebody in, and then he was on first base. And this was like, I think, 2-2 in the seventh inning or something like that. And he just goes, you know what? I'm taking Vinny out. I'm going to put Tyler Tolbert in there. Now, that didn't backfire. But I'm, once again, just as how the people that defend Matt Couture are like, it shouldn't just all be results based. It's like, well, vice versa. Just because you got lucky with a decision doesn't mean that was a good decision. You only, in my opinion, you should only be making substitutions like that. Playoff baseball is a little bit different, but regular season, don't be subbing guys out like that unless it's like, ninth inning. Maybe if you're at home, bottom of the eighth, I could kind of see that if you don't think the other guy's going to come back around again on offense. But seventh inning is way too early because it was, like I said, a tie ball game, and going into extra innings, which it did, you would have liked to have Vinny. Granted, Tyler Tolbert did great. He hit a single that scored, I think, 2 runs in that game against Toronto. But my point being that he just makes too many bonehead decisions that his analytics tell him are a good move. For instance, his analytics tonight told him, you know what, Ryan Berger, I'm going to take him out for Angel Zerpa. And Angel Zerpa just, and once again, he's had moments where he looked good, but that was just, he was just going to serve this pitch to you on a platter, just go ahead, hit it. It was like right down the middle. There's just so many stupid decisions that he makes. I mean, and this is what I want to distinguish, is JJ Piccolo, I think, last year I think he inherited a lot of good things. I don't remember exactly JJ's tenure of when he took over. Obviously, he took over for Dayton Moore. But what I'm saying is, like, last year, I feel like last year was a lot of just, young roster coming together with Salvi. Like, we had a few vets, but for the most part, it was just, we kind of got lucky with the collection of guys that we had. They finally, like, showed their talents. This year, where you have real expectations coming off making it to the ALDS last year, you have, in my opinion, a responsibility to put your best guys out there, unless they're injured or, like, I guess if they're completely exhausted. But another thing that he does is, Matt Contreras I'm talking about, he just constantly is messing with our lineup, where the guys that are not, I would say, Bobby, Vinny, Salvi, which, he'll sub Salvi because he's a catcher, but aside from those main three guys, and Maikel Garcia maybe, he is constantly switching everybody around, which I don't think is a great idea. We need offense, so put in our 9 best bats, in my opinion, is what you should do. But I'll get to that a little bit later. But I want to say this. JJ Piccolo, I saw last night when Falter came in and he pitched, that game 1 against the Red Sox, and he was awful. When I say he's awful, I'm not saying, oh my gosh, cut this guy on the spot or, DFA him. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if that's the showing that we got, in my head, I'm automatically going, okay, can't wait for Michael Lorenzen to come back, because I've never seen Lorenzen really be that bad as Falter was. So it's like, okay, then we have Noah Cameron that's kind of subbing for Cole Reagans, and Noah Cameron's proven himself this year to be one of our best guys. We obviously have Seth Lugo. We have Michael Waka. So at that point, I'm like, well, if this Ryan Berger guy does his job and fills in for Chris Bubich, it's like, well, we kind of don't need Falter. We needed him last night, but we kind of don't need him for the rest of the season unless it was like, hey, scratch start, we need someone to fill in, or, some guy gets in trouble in the early innings and he can come in and do long relief pitching. But I just want to get back to this. I'm giving JJ Piccolo credit because I think at the trade deadline, he addressed everything that we could do without really giving up anything. Trading, it was Diamondbacks. We gave up Andrew Hoffman for Grichuk. Grichuk is like, he hasn't been all that great so far with us, but then again, he hasn't been starting every game, which I think, once again, hurts. I think if he was getting everyday reps, I think that would be good, but our manager likes to play him like once every 3 games because that's smart. But Grichuk, I think it was like the first game as a Royal, he homered, or it was the first or second, and I'm like, oh, wow, we need that power in our lineup, and we just haven't had it. So, but we gave up Andrew Hoffman. Who cares about Andrew Hoffman? That guy, saw him pitch this year, he was horrible. So that's not a biggie. The San Diego deal that we made, a lot of people were freaking out that we lost Freddie Fermin. I like Freddie Fermin, didn't love Freddie Fermin, and here's why. Freddie would get opportunities, and he was clutch. I mean, I was there. It was actually against the Red Sox, May 9th, Friday night game, where Freddie hit like the walk-off single to win in extra innings. And proud of Freddie and all that, but Freddie is 30 years old, and the bottom line is, as people have said, we have like two prospect catchers already in the minors, and it's like Freddie doesn't really fit in long term with like where this team's going to go. Plus, Freddie, I don't see developing into like a better guy. Like maybe his hitting could get slightly better, but for the most part, he is what he is. So Salvi still, I mean, my dad, my dad a couple months ago, he was saying Salvi looks rough, looks like, he might be, on the back nine, like, just getting close to being done. And I was like, nah, Dad. And this was like May 9th. This was at the game. And then, like, in that next month, he was looking real rough, swinging at bad stuff, not really. He wasn't, I forgot his stretch. I think he almost went a month without a home run, something like that. And then July rolls around and he just is on fire. And now I would say, I mean, you can argue with me, but I would say, I have stats to back it up. Salvi, in my opinion, has been our best bat this year. I mean, he's doing less swinging in the dirt, which is nice. I think he's doing in general just kind of less strikeouts, and he's been hitting the home run ball a lot better. Getting deep. I mean, I think he's like second on our team at doubles. I might be wrong on that, but I think he's gotten a lot of doubles this year. But so what I'm saying is, Freddie for me just really didn't fit anymore. So being able to trade Freddie for two pitchers, obviously getting Ryan Berger, and then the other guy that we got, at the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what, I think it was Kolek. We don't know what that Kolek guy looks like really in our team yet. He hasn't debuted, and I think they've sent him to the minors because we kind of didn't have room for him. But Berger, I am very satisfied with what he showed tonight. I just wish he could have shown more, but our manager took him out. But like I said, JJ Piccolo got two guys that can be starters. Now, granted, like I said, Falter looked like crap, but that's only one game. But two guys that can be possible starters or fill-in guys or possibly trade pieces in the future. And I think they're both under contract. We got that for Freddie, who, like I said, I don't know where Freddie fitted into our team after this year because we were probably going to bring up Carter Jensen. And, I think that was a really smart move. Getting Grichuk for nothing, smart move. Getting Adam Frazier for nothing, smart move. Because Frazier, I've been super impressed with. Last year, I thought Frazier was okay. He started the year at second base because he was playing a lot of second because Michael Massey was injured to start that season. And I'll talk about Michael Massey later, but I do miss him, although he just one injury after another, and he didn't have a great year to begin with this year. But the last trade that Piccolo made was getting Yastrzemski. And obviously he got Falter from the Pirates. I don't think we gave up much in that one. And then Yastrzemski gave up once again. No one that really mattered in our minors. Yastrzemski, I mean, he comes in. I think that was also game one. Friday hits a home run against Toronto, and I'm like, this is the kind of stuff we need. Look, I know people don't want us to be home run reliant, but here's what I would say. I wish this Royals team was like the 2014-2015 Royals, where like they just made contact with the ball and we're constantly like, hey, we don't care what it takes. We're getting on base. We're getting singles. Doesn't matter. We'll take advantage. We'll be scrappy. We'll take advantage of everything we get. The difference is this Royal team is not that consistent. They can't consistently get, I would say, at least 3 runs in a game. They can't consistently do it. And if they do get more than 3, it's like, well, at that point, our manager normally either made a bad decision or one of our guys just, they were left in too long. They give up multiple runs. This is not, we don't have the lockdown bullpen that we did in those years, obviously. But our starters, I think, are actually better than what we had. I mean, not all of them. Like, Jordana Ventura was great. Chris Young was okay at times. Edison Volquez was really solid. And then Johnny Cueto had, 1 or 2 great postseason starts for us. It wasn't great in the regular season when we got him. But my point being that I just wish that, this Royals team, we don't have the ability to just, like I said, just get a lot of base hits. So because of that, I think what we gave up in the trade deadline, I think, we needed the pitching to help us out. And then getting Yastrzemski, I'm he hasn't been amazing, I would say, in the 4 or 5 games that we've had him, but I'm pretty pleased with what I've seen. The fact that he does have power, he seems like a really smart guy. You can change, switch him around on the outfield. He can play DH for you, obviously. Got a good power bat. So, yeah, I like him. And he's still young enough that he's still athletic. So, like I said, the JJ Piccolo criticism, I think, is just unwarranted because, like I said, he basically got us Adam Frazier, Randall Grichuk, the 3 pitchers that we got for nothing, and Yastrzemski for nothing. Freddie, we lost Freddie, but like I said, Freddie, Salvi's still got enough game in him where like Freddie's not going to take over the starting job, and by the time that Salvi's ready to give it up, he's going to be old too. I I would not be surprised. I think Salvi's 35. I would not be surprised if Salvi tries to play, I would say, until like 39. I think he probably wants to play another like 4 years, and he'll probably just want to switch to DH, which is fine. And we'll bring up, like I said, one of the other guys, and they'll be playing catcher for us. But Freddie was a good catcher, and he probably deserves to start, which is why I was actually happy that San Diego took him, and now he's going to be their starting catcher. So, but like I said, just summarizing this, just frustrated with Mac Matrero. I don't care what kind of extension the organization gave him. Like, it'd be different if we were, I don't know, 15 games over 500. Then it's like, hey, even though I don't like your management decisions, like we are still a winning team. But we have a losing record, and for me, it's like, I'm gonna drink of water real quick. We have everything that you would want for the. I mean, we don't have the power bats. What I'm saying is like starting lineup. If the Royals are all healthy, pretty damn good. Cole Reagans when he's healthy, pretty good. Although this year he really hasn't been healthy. Chris Bubich showed this year really damn good. Obviously, that was a guy we lost out of our bullpen last year, but starting rotation, really good. Michael Wacha has been. I've been surprised because I was thinking that last year was be like the best we got from Michael Wacha, but he's been pretty much just as good, if not better. Seth Lugo, really really solid. Last year he was great. This year I would say solid. And then obviously you got Noah Cameron that can fill in, and Noah Cameron's looking really good, which because he's a hometown guy, I know that we're going to keep him, and I'd be happy to do so. I don't know what his ceiling is. He probably could get a lot better, but overall, I mean, I'm pretty content with them. And then obviously this Ryan Berger guy, Michael Lorenzen, obviously, which I think he's probably going to be the odd man out in the future. I think we're going to get rid of him. But on paper, we have very serviceable starting pitchers that can get the job done. That you would not be surprised if in like playoff baseball they could, hold a team to under like a 1 run or less, 2 runs or less, something like that. Which in my opinion is all you can ask for. Like as a baseball team, it's like if your pitching can keep it 2 runs or less, it's your job to score more than that. Like you cannot expect your pitching. Like we beat the Orioles last year. I'm pretty sure the final was like 2-1 in one of the games and 1-0. So we outscored them 3-1, I believe was the final. And it's like that is insane that you win 2 games playoff baseball, and obviously that was the wild card round, so that was enough to move on. But it's like that is unrealistic to think that you can keep that up. I mean, I'd love to if we were that great on defense, but this year I think we've taken a step back defensively. Here's what I would say, like where I think, like I said, talking about our bullpen, I like them. I still think we probably could use one more guy that is like a better like filling guy that we don't have to throw in like an on-hill Zerpa or something like that. But for the most part, I think this bullpen is good enough. You obviously have Estevez. You have Lucas Urseg, who Urseg last year was just dynamite. He was like, almost. I'm not gonna say Mariano Rivera, but for us, he was almost Mariano Rivera in the second half of the year. And then, we have Sam Long, who I wasn't that sure about this year because he looked awful, but beginning of this year, but because of his injuries, last year he was pretty solid for us. John Schreiber, who I do like I said, he's not perfect, but I do like him. And Zerpa is fine. And then Daniel Lynch, I think Daniel Lynch needs to be elevated where like he's seeing more playing time, because I don't understand why we use him as like he'll come in occasionally for this inning. Daniel Lynch has been like probably our best guy in our bullpen this year. You would say Estevez because of the amount of saves that he's got and crucial stops, but I would say Daniel Lynch has probably been overall the most impressive for me this year. So, and then I might be missing somebody. Like I said, off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember who all, I mean, everybody that we got. But yeah, so I think our pitching is good enough to win. It's just if our offense can come alive. And if I go through our lineup, Salvi's been our best offensive player, in my opinion, this year thus far. You would like to say Bobby. You would like to say Miguel Garcia. You'd like to say Vinny. But Salvi's been the one that's actually getting the most runs batted in. Salvi's been the one that's, I would say, the most consistent. I mean, this last July, this month helps. But there's too many other times where I feel like the rest of our guys are just kind of, it's a letdown. So I would say Vinny at first. I don't feel like we need to move him. This is me talking about our future plans. I think Vinny's fine where he's at first base. He's, the future. I wish he'd get a little bit more. Vinny's a guy that should be hitting better and scoring more runs or getting more runs batted in, and he hasn't been this year. He's been good. I would say he's been our second best bat. And then Bobby. And that's the thing. It's hard to criticize Bobby because Bobby last year was like, what more can you ask that guy to do? I wish he would have won MVP. They gave it to Aaron Judge, whatever. He plays in a little league ballpark. That's on him. But Bobby has stepped back this year. And defensively, I think he's been fine. I mean, last year he was like almost perfect. So, like, naturally, Bobby's going to come down a little bit off that. But I'm not mad at his defense, really. His offense, he just swings at, I think, too many. He's trying to be really aggressive. And he's swinging at a lot of, like, high fastballs that I'm just like, I'm like, Bobby, last year you were laying off a lot of those. And this year you're just in such a rush. You're like, nope, I got to take this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm not here to really criticize Bobby. Like, I'm just noting that, yeah, he's not what he was last year, but that's kind of impossible to duplicate. So overall, I'm satisfied with Bobby's production. Wish we got a little bit more because you want to see like MVP Bobby. He hasn't been MVP Bobby this year, really. Um, I think he needs to go up another level. If this team's going to make the playoffs, I think Bobby's got to be the one that basically his bat's so hot that like teams are just, because I don't know if you guys remember last year. I think there was a point where like they just started walking Bobby. I mean, other teams were just like, nope, we're just, if there's a guy that's in scoring position, we're just not going to do it. And it's like, okay, ultimate respect you can give him. The next guy, Miguel Garcia, I'm pretty happy with. I mean, I'm happy because I had a lot of faith in him last year. He started off like really cool. I think the first game I watched, he hit a homer, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And third base. The fact of he plays incredible third base when really he wants to be a shortstop, but like I don't know. I saw some like fake trade of Miguel Garcia for I forgot who they were proposed. The Yankees were trying to get him. I think it was like kind of smoke at the trade deadline, but it's like there's no way we're trading Miguel Garcia. In my opinion, as far as like you want to say prospect, but like most important assets of this team, in my opinion, I think he's second because like Salvi's older. Vinny, Vinny's a good player, but Vinny doesn't have the defensive potential of Miguel Garcia. Miguel Garcia with his defense and then his bat coming on, I think he's our second best, asset behind, obviously Bobby. Yeah, so happy with him. And then the other guys in our lineup, like here's where I would want to put everybody. I will say Jonathan India at second, although like if you're asking me like gut feeling, I do think Michael Massey is a better defensive second baseman. It's just he can't stay healthy this year, so given the circumstances, and Jonathan India does seem like this year he's been a better bat than Massey was, but Massey, I don't know. I still think he's got higher potential. But anyway, India at second, like I said, Bobby obviously shortstop, Miguel Garcia third, Vinny first, Salvi catcher. That leads us to DH. I'm torn on this because part of me wants to see Jack Caglione get more reps in the outfield, but at the same time, I don't think he's a natural outfielder. He's got a strong enough arm. I just don't think he's a natural outfielder. So I would put Caglione at DH, where it's like all you're focused on is hitting. You don't have to worry about anything else. Just focus on your hitting, and then we can swap the DH around to whoever, and then that leaves your outfield. And in my opinion, because we need offensive production, I like Kyle Isbell. I want to like him more. His bat has been a disappointment. Yes, he occasionally can get a double, single, whatever, but like last year I was kind of surprised he had like some home run power, and I just was like, where'd that go? And this year, I think the only way he really is hitting home runs is if he gets a ball like a curveball like down and away, and then he can like kind of like crank it up, and he swings at those every time. Most of his strikeouts are off of the changeup or slider down, and I think that teams know that that's what he wants to hit for power. So anyway, I've been disappointed with Kyle this year. His defense has been fine, not as good as last year. Last year, like everybody was just on point. And then as far as like the other outfielders, I would definitely start Yastrzemski out there every game that you can, and then I would start Grichuk out there. And then unfortunately, and then Frazier is the other guy. So maybe Adam Frazier left field, right field, maybe go Grichuk, and then center field go Yastrzemski, because I know Yastrzemski used to play center field. So like the guys that are just kind of being left out of my lineup is, sadly, Kyle Isbell, Nick Lofton, who I've grown to like Nick Lofton. I did not like him last year because last year he was not that great of a player, and I think he would acknowledge that. And then John Rave, who I was really critical of a couple weeks ago, and then against the Marlins when he hit like the 2 home runs in a game, I was like, okay, you're showing that you got some growth. And since then, like I said, because Jack Caglione's been hurt these last 2 weeks, I don't mind John Rave being thrown in there. Like I said, Isbell starting, and then Nick Lofton. But when Cags comes back, which supposedly might be tomorrow, I'm sorry, we need the offense. And this is my other thing with Cags, because some people criticize him. I know his batting average isn't good, but the logic that I have, which I don't think you can argue it, but just hear me out. The 2015 Royals, a guy that could get on base a lot, that could get a walk, a base hit, just a single. That was okay because we had enough guys that could make contact where like they could and they would steal bases. They made the most out of that guy on base. Like if you guys remember, if we would get a guy on base, it was like, okay, we're in business now. Like steal second, and then we just need one knock, and like there's a run. That was like the Royals' old school way of, and we still try to do that sometimes. But this team is too inconsistent with hitting where like I can't just having one guy on base, like a guy that can get a single, is not good enough. You have to be able to string those along, and our team just can't. So I would rather have a guy like Jack Caglione that has the home run power. And honestly, AAA, he destroyed AAA. Like AAA is not going to do anything for him to just send him back down. So I would put Jack Caglione back in there and just, if he's going to struggle, let him struggle. But he, once every like week and a half, Jack Caglione's going to hit a home run ball that's going to make a difference in the scoreboard. You can't say that for a lot of the other guys. John Rave really isn't making a difference on offense right now. Kyle Isbell, he had a good double, I think it was last night, and then I think he had a good hit against the Blue Jays. For the most part, though, Kyle on the season hasn't been making an impact on offense. Nick Lofton, for the most part, hasn't been making a huge impact on offense. Last night, he had a really dumb, the anyone that knows anything about Wrigley Field knows that like the dimensions are so small in certain areas that you really can't because he ran that as if like he hit a ball in Kaufman, like Bobby hit a ball in Kaufman. He's like, we got all this room. I'm just gonna make it. And it's like, dude, that was stupid. You should have seen where that ball was at. I know you're supposed to listen to your third base coach, and that is partially on the third base coach to actually like stop him. But he was out in baseball terms, in Major League Baseball, he was out by a mile. I mean, that was not close. He was out, I don't know, 5 feet, 7 feet away from the plate, maybe more than that. It was pretty bad. And I know some people said that the guy that threw it got lucky. Okay, whatever. I don't know. I think he knew where that guy was and he knew where his catcher was. So I've not been that pleased with Nick Lofton. These guys need to make more use out of like because that's the thing. Matt Quintero loves to give all these guys all these chances, and they're not making the most of it. And I think I'm kind of fed up. It's like start your 9 best guys, and the guys I gave you are the 9 best in my opinion. Bats I'm talking about, and I think they're serviceable enough on defense. Adam Frazier has been a huge. I've been impressed with him. What he's been able to do, being able to get on base, the power that he's shown, and the fact of like you can't tick that guy off. That guy you could sub out, and he's like, yeah, whatever, it's all good for the team. But if you want him in right field, he can do that. Left field, you can do that. He probably could play center, although we haven't seen that. You want to DH him, he can do that. Second base, he can do it. I think he can even fill in on first base if he had to. He can play third base. He did that the other night. He probably could play shortstop. I don't know. Maybe he would deny that, but he'd probably try it. So that's my point is like, he's the ultimate utility man with a smile on his face that's like, and he's productive, so you can't argue with that. I think Frazier needs to be in the lineup every day. So like I said, with Cags coming back, I think someone's got to go. Here's also what I would do. Tyler Tolbert, sorry, like I know he hit that single the other night or the other day against Toronto, and that was good, but we got to make room for somebody. I'm sending Tyler Tolbert down. You can't really get rid of Luke Maile because you need the backup catcher. So yeah, that's what I would do personally. And then I don't know, like if Michael Massey can come back, I definitely would rather have him on the roster over Tyler Tolbert because I just think Tyler Tolbert is okay, and I think Michael Massey has a way higher ceiling and needs to get his reps in. So that's my opinion. Tomorrow we have another game against the Red Sox, and then after that we get Thursday off, and then we get 3 straight in Minnesota. Or is it 3 or 4? It might be 4 straight. And then after that, we finally come home and we get, I don't remember which order it is, but I believe we get White Sox, Nationals, and then we get the Rangers. I might be missing somebody else, but I think that's the 3. So it's like 10 games at home. So I think we can make a dent, but like I said, it's our manager making these stupid decisions of not putting in our best guys. It'd be different if like our offense was already, getting enough runs and our pitching was like phenomenal where we're just holding everybody down. But that's not the case. Our offense is struggling again, even though they were doing a lot better. But these last 2 games really has been bad. I mean, scoring 5 yesterday felt like a consolation prize. I'm like, okay, at least we didn't get blown out. At least they showed fight, which is true. but too little too late. When you're going to allow 8 runs, all that rest of that stuff kind of doesn't matter because that's the thing. They didn't put in their best arms, the Red Sox, last night. Sorry, the night before. They didn't put in their best arms. They were like, okay, we got a 7-run lead. They're like, we can, throw in one of the worst guys out of our bullpen, give the other guys a break. And then they had to put in Aroldis Chapman at the end because we were starting to scare them. But yeah, so that's what I think. Like I said, I'm not upset with JJ Piccolo. I'm happy with the moves that he made. I think overall he's done a good job. You could say that we should have gone more all in for a bigger, like more consistent bat. And I think in the offseason, here's what I would say. Long term, unless things turn around this season, what I think could actually help the Royals. I don't see any of our prospects being some big bat, some guy that comes out of nowhere and just all of a sudden is like a Cal Raleigh that can hit like 40 something home runs in a seat. Like, I don't see any of the guys. We just generally don't draft guys that have that much power. It's just so rare that that would ever happen. Jack Caglione is like the first, like, wow, like, you're a power guy and we actually drafted you and we should have. And I was so happy they did. But I think after this year, I think we're going to have a surplus of arms. I know, like, we've had a lot of injuries, but like I said, if you think about it, Reagans will be back, Seth Lugo will be back, Michael Wacha will be back, Chris Bubich will be back. Who am I missing? And then, like I said, Noah Cameron, we're going to lock him down, I'm sure. I don't remember how much longer he's under control for his contract. I'm not sure all that. But like I said, you kind of have like Michael Lorenzen might be an odd man out. This Ryan Berger guy, which I would like to see him stay because he's young. And then, Falter, who not a good first impression. Not ready to give up on him, but I'm just saying, like, not good first impression. And then we have that other guy, Kolek, I believe. And then we still have a guy that I like from last year that he's just been hurt all year, but Alec Marsh. I was a big fan of his last year because he was coming in as our 5th guy that was unproven, and he looked pretty good. He was definitely our 5th best guy. Like, you knew he was in the 5th spot for a reason, but he looked pretty good, and he's the guy that I would love to see back, being that spot starter that could come and fill in because it was embarrassing, these last couple weeks when we had to start Rich Hill twice. Once is like, it's understandable. You got to start a guy that off the street once, makes sense considering the injuries. But when you don't have any backup plan and there's no depth for like starting pitching, that's bad. Like I said, we had Noah Cameron. That was the one. Like, good on JJ Piccolo, good on our minor league teams, our farm system of getting him ready, and he was good. But a lot of these, there just should have been a better plan. But anyway, because there wasn't, I don't remember Michael Lorenzen's contract because I believe he re-signed because he was a free agent at the end of the last offseason. I think he re-signed with us. I'm okay to keep him, but like I said, if this Berger guy keeps it up, there's not enough arms. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, Reagans is 1. I'm not talking about in order. I'm just saying, like, I'm listing the guys. Reagans is 1, Seth Lugo's 2, Michael Wacha 3, Chris Bubich 4, and like I said, 5th spot could go to Berger, could go to Noah probably go to Noah Cameron. So then that leaves Berger, Michael Lorenzen, and Falter, and then if you want to count that Kolek guy, and then like I said, if Alec Marsh can get back healthy, that's like 5 backup starting pitchers. I don't think you need quite that many. Obviously, you don't want to find yourself in the situation you're just in, but I would try whatever that takes, and I think you probably could get something for some of these starting pitchers. Find a team that's got an excess of power bats and needs starting pitching. I don't know who that is. Find them and go, hey, we just need just a big athlete, big baseball player that has power for days. Find me one of those guys because I would much rather just get a professional hitter. That's what we want. Every other team seems to be able to get them no problem, but the Royals, we just can't do it. And I understand Kauffman Stadium, it's hard to hit home runs. That's not my point. I'm talking about even on the road, just a guy that could dominate on the road, whatever. We need somebody because Salvi's getting older, and at this point, he shouldn't be our best bat, but he still is, and he's 35. And we have guys, like I said, like Vinny, Bobby, that should be taking that mantle, and they're not quite yet. That's the thing. Bobby's just been a bit of a disappointment. In my opinion, like I said, 3rd best bat when you were like an MVP candidate last year. I don't know. Miguel Garcia's impressed. Like I said, he's taken a leap, but he's never going to be the power guy. Miguel Garcia is like great defense. The fact that he's batting around 300 is just like amazing. I think as of today, it's like he's back at 300. So tomorrow, back at Boston again. Let's hope for some more luck. And like I said, if you guys like this, comment below. If you think I'm wrong on something, that's okay. I would just ask, I'm not going to call you guys idiots if you got a different opinion than me. Just be civil about it, because we're all Royals fans. We're all coming from the same place. We want to see our team do well. And like I said, I'm tired of, as a Royals fan, there isn't like another outlet to like watch and talk Royals baseball. You know, MLB Network's not really going to do it. ESPN's definitely not going to do it. I think they gave up on baseball altogether. Like, so your options are, like I said, Locked On Royals, and then I don't know who I'm missing, but Jack Johnson is a good dude if he ever sees this. Jack, I am a fan of yours. I do think you do a good job. But that Chance Lebo guy, like I said, calling Royals fans idiots for going, hey, I think our manager's kind of dumb and overuses analytics and doesn't actually use his brain. He just lets the analytics do the thinking. Why do we need a manager then? I could just get a computer that basically is like, according to this pitcher shouldn't pitch more than this many pitches, blah, blah, blah. This pitch, if you're just going to use analytics, the manager is meaningless. I think the manager needs to, it's like an NFL coach. You can use, if NFL really, they don't use analytics mostly. I mean, they'll be like, hey, this guy's good against this coverage, blah, 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 blah. But what I would say is, in the NFL, mostly as a coach, you're doing it as a feel thing. If you feel that a guy like has a good rhythm, blah blah blah, you might throw more passes. If you feel like your guy needs a break or you see something in defense, you're going to run the ball more. It's all about matchups. Baseball should be more about matchups and feel and what you're actually seeing and be like, is a guy on or is he off? And with your bats, like I said, if guys aren't getting it done and you got other guys that need more opportunity, then let them go. Like I said, you got Yastrzemski and Grichuk, who in my opinion shouldn't be spot starters. Those guys should, because this notion that they should only be going like, I said Grichuk and Yastrzemski, it's like, oh, this guy should only be going against left-handers. This guy should only be going against right-handers. I'm like, that's all crap. These guys, even if they're going against the opposite side arm, like a left-hander versus a right, blah blah blah. I'm like, you still need guys that consistently can put the ball into play and actually hit power. And our regular guys, like I said, John Rave that gets a lot of starts, and Nick Lofton and Kyle Isbell. I'm rooting for Kyle Isbell. I want to do well. Same thing with MJ Melendez. I'm one of the few people. Now, don't get me wrong. This year, I'm kind of like, MJ, you had your chances, and it's just not in the cards. But last year, I was a big fan of MJ. I saw the talent. I was like, I'm rooting for this guy. And this year, it was disappointing. But like my guys on the team that I really root for, it's like Michael Massey, MJ Melendez. I want the Kyle Isbell. I want them to be our like everyday starters at those positions. But their bats haven't been good enough. So it's like you gotta, until they prove it, and the times they do get some playing time, you gotta sit them. Anyway, I think I'm gonna call it there. This is my first ever episode, so who knows. I'm just one guy's opinion. You guys let me know what you think. But like I said, I'm Chris. I didn't really introduce myself, I guess. But I've been watching the Royals since, like I said, '97. I remember George Brett's inauguration of the Hall of Fame. I even have the little George Brett baseball bat that they gave out that 1999 year. I remember the old Royals teams. In my opinion, the old Royals teams of Jermaine Dye, Carlos Beltran, Johnny Damon, Kevin Appier, Zach Greinke's early years, obviously Mike Sweeney, Joe Randa, the Joker, always had the smile. So I'm not a stranger to Royals baseball, but when your team is struggling, baseball, in my opinion, is the hardest sport to watch. You could watch a struggling NBA team and still find some enjoyment. Football, even as a Chiefs fan, we used to have years where we got 2-14, 4-12. You'd still watch them every game because you're like, you know what, maybe this is the game, blah blah blah. And even if a football game is a big deal, if you win a football game, you can enjoy that one day. Baseball, there's so many games that like if your team's struggling, it is soul crushing to try and watch. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like we finished off this, we played Toronto, like the last like couple weeks we've winning 2 out of 3, winning every series, but winning like 2 out of 3 in the series. And I was like, yeah, it makes me like really happy. At least we're making progress, but we can't string a whole lot together. And then like this Boston series, it's just like we just got our ass kicked like 2 back-to-back games, and it's defeating. Especially when you like see the like, oh, if that decision, like they talk about like, oh, well, it's easy to make these things in hindsight. I'm like, no. If you have a pitcher that's on point and he's under 100 pitches and he's not complaining about arm soreness and there's not like an injury concern, why take him out? Just because he's never done it before, well, how does he know, or how would anyone know what his limit is if you don't allow him to kind of push it? You know what I mean? Like, that's like the people be like, oh, well, I mean, I don't know if my 15-year-old can drive. I mean, I don't know, so I'm just not going to let them get their permanent try. It's like you got to let them try to like grow up and progress. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. I've been Chris. I'm going to try to do these nightly. I wish I did this at the start of the season, but I want Royals fans to have an alternative to basically, in my opinion, like media speak and just people that are afraid to criticize the team. If they're deserving of criticism, I will criticize them. If we do something great, I'm going to give them credit for it. I will stand up for certain guys that I like. But once again, we're all entitled to have our opinions, and I'm open to more suggestions and all that. So anyway, that's it for now, guys. Hold on. Have a good one.